Marley saw that it was the White Lady. She had a bag slung around her shoulders with 3 or 4 books from the shelves stuffed into them. "I should know your name," she said. "Mr. "Marley," said Marley. "Of course," said the lady, who frowned for a moment. "I don't suppose you know who I am?" she asked. Marley shook his head sadly. "Of course," she said, and looked a little crestfallen. "I'm sorry, madam," murmured Marley, truly meaning it. "Oh, no matter," she said brightly. Taking out or returning?" she asked, indicating the book. "Oh, no," said Marley. He clumsily took the book and attempted to put it back in place. He fumbled and watched it clatter to the floor. The White Lady swooped down and grabbed the book. She carefully placed it back onto the shelf, where it angrily ruffled its pages and settled back on the page that was currently being written. "Oh, now you've done it," she said. "With that noise, you'll have one of the librarians down on us." Marley looked into the darkness. He could see will-o'-the-wisp lights bobbing amongst the shelves. He presumed them to be candles held by the others using the library. As he watched, he saw one of those lights was coming towards him. The White Lady cursed. "I don't suppose you have permission to be in the Library of All Souls?" she asked. "I was trying to find somewhere quiet," said Marley. "Well, at least you got that bit right," said the lady, and she sighed. "Oh, what atrocious timing! It's my entrance any moment. Can you just apport yourself somewhere?" "Sorry," said Marley. "No, I thought not," said the White Lady. The candle flame bobbed nearer. Revealed in its light was a mature, neat lady ghost, who, with an expression of extreme annoyance and her hair scraped into a tight, high bun. The White Lady thought for a moment and then held her hands out to Marley. "Give me your change," she said. "The ends." Marley scrabbled about and found 2 ends of change and handed them to her. "This is not ideal," she said. "Just remember, think pretty thoughts and don't look down." Marley fancied that she may have winked, but he had no time to consider this any further, for suddenly he had the queerest feeling throughout his entire being. It was like he was effervescing, and at the same time there was an increasing pressure all over him. And then it happened. With a pop, the floor sped away, and the White Lady seemed to rush forward until she filled the entirety of his vision. He looked along his chain. It now extended out from either side of him and away. It had taken on an odd glittery quality and looped up into the air above him. He was suspended by it. And then he was being turned. The room had undergone a massive change. The ceiling was now some very great distance away, and the shelves had taken on huge proportions. He felt his back butt up to something and the chains hitch a couple of times before settling. The surface that he had landed on was warm to the touch and with a soft and gentle curve that accommodated his form most pleasingly. Whatever had happened to him he couldn't fathom, but he was dashed comfortable. "Ah, very comely," he heard the White Lady say. "Now remember, eyes forward, be a good boy." Marley could see no immediate reason not to fully take in his surroundings, no matter what the lady had instructed. What could he possibly see that would... "Oh!" Marley snapped his head up, suddenly realising his position. "You're getting warmer," said the lady. "Are you blushing? I did ask you not to look down. And if you would, do try not to drop the candle." Marley gripped onto the candle holder tighter. He had been shrunken down to the size of a pea, and the White Lady had hung him around her neck like a piece of jewellery. He stared stock straight ahead. "Madam," he began, his voice several tones higher than normal. "Quiet," said the White Lady sharply, as the ghostly librarian floated fully into view. The lower half of the librarian's torso vanished away into nothingness, drifting like some piece of lace flotsam in a dark and silent ocean. She came to a stop a few steps away, her head inclined to one side in silent inquiry. Marley felt the White Lady move as she patted the bags at her side and replied in a whisper. "My background research," she said. "For the redemption, I'm returning it. the librarian flinched and started back a little, her hands flying to her ears as if in great pain. She scowled, her features shifting into a snarl, and brought one finger to her lips, uttering a shh that cut through Marley like ice. "If you're quite finished," said the White Lady, albeit a little quieter than even before. She handed the books back to the librarian with a naughty grin, and then made her way to the stairs. As she went, she whispered at Marley. "Most inconvenient," she said. "I should have left you to the mercies of the librarians. They can be very strict. Still, no use crying over what's past, I suppose." She had reached the bottom of the stairs. She wet the tips of her thumb and forefinger with a little spit, nipped out the flame on her candle, and placed it on the table. "I'll just get us out of the sight of the librarians, get you back to your normal size," and then a voice cackled into life around them. "Time is passing, time is fleeting." The announcement rung out and down into the library. There was a second of silence, and then, as one, the librarians howled. "Oh, now we're for it," said the White Lady, who quickened her pace on the stairs. "Time to heed to my entreating." There was a rushing sound behind them, as if 100 silken sheets were flapping and tearing in a great wind. The White Lady made it to the top of the stairs and stopped, then turned back. "Time to journey to your latter days of yore." "What are you doing?" called Marley, his tinny voice ringing in his own ears. The stairs were choked up with the forms of many demonic and ghastly librarians. Also, a sheet of paper that must have fallen from one of the White Lady's bags. "What is past can't be rewritten." Transformed into hideous gargoyles with spare skin stretched over animal bones, the librarians scratched and tore at each other as they ascended. The White Lady stopped for the paper, but it drifted out of her grip and down another step towards the horde. "Can't be concealed and can't be hidden." The revenants were making their way up the stairwell towards them as the White Lady skipped down 2 more stairs. "Leave it," pleaded Marley. "Our beginnings are what lie within our very core." The White Lady hopped back up the stairs and swung the door to the stairwell shut in the faces of the harpies just as they reached the top step. The door reverberated with banging, howling and scratches, but it held firm. "Only this and nothing more." The words "nothing more" echoed in the passageway, and after a moment the noise behind the door subsided into the sound of totting, which then retreated away. "My call sheet," said the White Lady. "I'd be lost without it." "I'll say," said a voice from behind Marley and his saviour. "What did you do to upset the keepers of the library?" It was Linton. The White Lady turned around so quickly that Marley was jostled about on her person somewhat violently. Marley, as best he could, hid behind the candle. Linton was staring right at him. He could see her through the flame. He lay still and attempted to look as decorative as he could. He thought it highly unlikely that, were he to be given any great amount of scrutiny, that the subterfuge would survive any length of time. But after a moment, Linton looked up to the face of the White Lady without even a modicum of recognition for the dangling Marley. "Didn't you hear the call?" asked Linton of the White Lady. "Yes, dear, Linton," said the White Lady, striding away, full of busy energy. "Yes, my entrance, I believe. Oh, what would I do without you? You are such a treasure. I'm just on my way. Yes, no need to escort me, dear heart." "Oh, no, it's no bother," said Linton, who rather quickly fell into step alongside the White Lady. "It's been one of those days, and to be honest, I don't need any more problems. Old Ben is getting in touch with management to try and force us to put him back on the bill somehow. Sir Simon is hiding in a toilet, alternately throwing up and begging not to have to go on. And I've got a topside howler who nearly cost us the whole gig gone rogue." "Oh, is that so?" Marley could tell that the White Lady was trying hard to outpace Linton by the frequency of his own bouncing against her breastbone. Yes, said Linton. Oh, he's a great self-important buffoon, he is. You were talking to him earlier. Was I? Asked the White Lady. In the green room, said Linton. Great whey-faced thing he is, full of his own sins. Wears them like a bloody medal. Well, you know me, said Linton. No memory for faces at all, whey-coloured or otherwise. They entered another stage space, and it was all Marley could do not to gasp. Whereas the other settings that he'd encountered had been rather rudimentary in their construction, this was a thing of beauty. It was more like a diorama than a stage set, for it resembled nothing more than a grand stylized model of Scrooge's house, the surrounding streets, and London beyond. Each building was just a construction of card, canvas, and paint, but as a collection, they built up into something approaching art. And it wasn't simply a topographical representation either. The artist had made Scrooge's house, with its high shuttered windows and grey slate roof, the very focus of the design. It was extruded to a height way above its neighbours and pulled and twisted until it bent and loomed into something that approached the figure of Scrooge himself. The buildings beside it all fell away and became smaller and smaller until they were just painted pictures of roofs of houses on a large cloth. At the back of the playing area, this cloth swooped back and up into the dusty beyond, though it was not simply painted with a continuation of the map, nor, as one might expect, with a representation of the sky. Rather, the lines of streets and roads became sweeping curves and curlicues that swooped in and out of each other until the whole mass of them coalesced into two words: the past, rendered in grand and Gothic penmanship. Marley wished that he could turn just a little to take in the whole of this sight, but he knew that were he to move, then Linton would surely notice. "No, of course," said Linton to the White Lady. "Wrong person to ask. I'll let you get on." But if either Marley or the White Lady were expecting Linton to move off at this, they were going to be sorely disappointed, for she stood, the ever-present clipboard under one arm, and she scratched idly at the bandage that covered her wrist, as if, for all the world, she had nothing better to do. "Don't let me keep you," said Linton. Perhaps she was smirking. Perhaps not. "Oh, no, I won't," the White Lady replied uncertainly. The White Lady gathered herself and was about to step towards the set when Linton delivered her coup de grace. As a phrase, it seemed innocent enough. In fact, it was innocent enough. You could not accuse these two words of bearing any malice themselves, but, as is often the case in such things, by their simplicity, their undeniable ordinariness, by their very virtue, they hung accusingly in the air like two crows whistling sinlessness in a convent rookery. "Lovely necklace," she said. Marley felt the White Lady freeze, and then, to his horror, turned back towards Linton. No, he wanted to cry. "Just walk on. Just walk away from her. Whatever you do, do not go back." Marley peeped round the flickering flame of the oversized candle and saw Linton slap bang in front of him. Knowing that the jig was up and at any moment he would be likely snatched from his resting place, he wanted to crawl, run, hide somewhere, anywhere away from the steady gaze of the stage manager. Yet he remained as inert as he could, trying not to breathe, willing himself to the very last to avoid detection. Somehow it seemed to work, for Linton smiled and then looked back up at the White Lady. "Ah, a fat little cherub holding a candle," she said. "It's quite nice, is that?" Marley bit back his indignation. "Fat little cherub." "Yes," said the White Lady. "Careful, it's a real candle." Linton's figure was hovering just in front of Marley, and a hand close behind, gigantic and poised, perfectly, just to idly flick at Marley and the candle. He could see every pit and wall in her skin, blotted and splashed with ink like some map of some yet undiscovered country. The fingernails were nicked and broken at the ends, and under each of them was dirt. Yet the smell that filled the air around him and warmed the candle was not foul, it was fair. It told of dew on heather and gorse, clean wet peat and dry stonework, muck and passion. It withdrew. "You'll be late," said Linton. "I'm not sure I can be," said the White Lady, as she hurried towards the stage with urgency, causing Marley to rattle about in his chain something terrible. "Showtime," she said with undisguised excitement, and the curtain began to rise. Then she added under her breath, "Hold tight, cherub. It seems you're my little stowaway now. Let's go visit the land of If Only."